Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good day to everyone. I would like to start my presentation today with a trivia. Do you know that 65% of the population are visual learners, meaning that majority of the students are visual learners? 30% of the population are considered as auditory learners, and only 5% of the population are considered as kinesthetic learners. And because of this fact, that majority of our students can be classified as visual learners, educational institution, faculties, as well as programs need to take advantage of this information and make use of it. Try to utilize this in terms of the teaching method, the teaching approach that would be suited with the visual learners orientation. So because of that fact, it has brought us to this particular research. My name is Associate Professor Dr. Ahmad Fadli Arham, and I'm from the Faculty of Business and Management, UiTM Changam Melaka. First of all, I would like to congratulate to all the committee members, organizing committee, to the rector, to the TRHEA, to the TRPGI, to the faculty for organizing this event. This is the first International Virtual Conference on Office Technology Management 2022 with the theme of strategizing the office environment after pandemic, impacts, challenges, and opportunities. And my team and I have come up with a research paper entitled The Effectiveness of Mind Mapping on Students' Performance, Perspective on Office Management and Technology Students. This paper has been co-written by Nur Sabrina Norizan as the main author, and myself, Ahmad Fadli Arham, together with Fatanah Jislan. Based on the facts that majority of the students are visual learners, and at the same time, as educators, we all understand that one of the measures for the university success is dependent upon the academic performance of the students. Combining on these two different issues, we have designed and tried to propose a research paper that is focusing on identifying integrative tool and interactive tool that is interesting to engage students into learning, that embed a lot of visualizations, which we argue could improve the academic performance of the students. This is the outline of my presentation. Of course, I will start with the introduction, and then a little bit on the literature review, and then on the research methodology, on discussion and implication, and finally a conclusion. And this paper is actually a conceptual paper that we write together, and we plan to collect the data in the next semester, inshallah. COVID-19 pandemic has impacted all education sectors, in which that now we have to change from face-to-face teaching and learning into online learning. And since now we have moved from face-to-face to virtual platform, programs, faculties, universities need to redesign the lesson plan to make it more creative and innovative, embed in terms of the new learning technique that is considered as significant tools to ensure online learning is enjoyable. And Busan in 1989 has discovered that computerized mind mapping is a helpful tool during this difficult period. Some of the issues with regards to the idea of conducting this research is that once the universities have decided that all teaching and learning process should be transformed into an online platform, we have to acknowledge that some of the educators, they are not an expert in information technology. They are not the IT expert, and they have no prior experience with online teaching tools and software. And even some of them, they are quite unfamiliar with the mind mapping approach and a lack of exposure. And looking into the existing literature with regards to the computerized mind mapping, we can see that there is still a lack of research on the importance of using computerized mind mapping as a learning tool in Malaysia. Thus, it is important for us to study on the effectiveness of mind mapping, as presently there is a lack of findings on the impact of computerized mind mapping. So all of these issues have brought us to these two fundamental objectives. Number one is to examine the importance of mind mapping as a learning approach. And number two, to investigate whether the computerized mind mapping affects academic performance among office management and technology students. Let us go to some of the literature review. We go for the history first. It has been initiated in 1978 by Arthur Bells. And then Tony Buzan in 1978 also introduced a computerized mind mapping through software, mind mapping software in 1990. And looking into the technique, Buzan in 1989 has introduced 7 principles, 7 guidelines on how to conduct or organize this mind mapping tool. Number one, start with the center with the color image. And then use images, and then print the words. Written words should be on the separate lines, and then each line is connected to one another, and then the words should be organized. Use colors for the entire mind mapping, and should allow for association and connections between the points. And on the advantages of mind mapping on students' learning, number one, recent research has indicated that it will definitely improve on students' listening and recording skills, boost their creative thinking skills at the same time. And Adodo in 2013 had contended that mind mapping would allow students to remember information better and better recalling of knowledge during the lecture. And on a different spectrum, when we are looking into the effectiveness of the mind mapping, Astawa in 2019 has discovered that students who use mind mapping approach perform better, and Mukal et al. In 2018 indicating that mind mapping approaches and appealing teaching techniques help students learn the subject more efficient and creatively. This is one of the example of a computerized mind mapping that has been developed by the student. So we are based on the topic of thinking skill. We can see that how creative the students have designed this mind mapping that incorporates all of the subtopics in this particular chapter. So we can see that the definition is there as a mental activity that can take in many forms. And then in terms of the critical thinking skill, require listen and read. And then we have the problem solving skills here. And then the student would allow to put in the different subtopics like the decision making, and then the steps to think critically, and then on the history part, and then what is the aim of conducting these thinking skills and whatnot. And all of these subtopics that could take up pages in the textbook can be compressed into this one integrative mind mapping that could be computerized mind mapping that could be designed by the students. This would allow them to remember better. This would allow them to recall some of the important elements in that particular chapter. In terms of the research methodology, of course, we intend to do this quantitatively. It's a quantitative data, it's quantitative study in which it would involve students of office management and technology undertaking the personality development OBM 100 course. And since we are offering this program in 6 different campuses throughout the country in Malaysia, so we intend to use a stratified sampling. As of now, with regards to the population, we have the data that there are about approximately 1,317 students, and there are 6 campuses that offered the same course. And then for the items, measurement items, we are going to adopt the measurement items that consist of 18 items altogether. And with regards to the data analysis, we intend to use SmartPLS 3.0. The data is to be collected via Google Form. That is what we intend to do with the recruitment strategy to collect the data. Okay, let us jump straight to the discussion part. Should we do this? This is what we expect to achieve by the end of the day. Number one, like I said earlier on, majority of learning orientation among Malaysian undergraduates are also visual learners, and visualization has been suggested as the critical tool that could enhance creativity and teaching and learning. This is from Khairani et al. In 2019, and previous studies have proven that the mind mapping approach encourage the learners to participate and improve their academic performance. And Hiller in 2012 agrees that mind mapping is a valuable platform for instructing students. And Al-Jaf discovered that mind mapping could help students brainstorm, develop new ideas, and connect distinct topics rather than students who did not employ mind mapping. And consistent with the Riswanto and Putra, they discovered that students who employ mind mapping can help improve their writing achievement. Right, let us go for the implication. By conducting this study, we can confirm the Western developed outcomes on the computerized mind mapping, whether or not it will produce the same results, especially within the context of Asian perspective, because the researchers believe that by using a mind mapping to enhance integrative work from several books and publication into a single comprehensible and understandable set of thinking would benefit the students more. And this study also will bring more insight and additional knowledge to teaching and learning methodologies for all educators dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. And finally, as for the conclusion, we believe that by using a computerized mind mapping, this would increase the intrinsic motivation of the students. And since majority of them, they are part 1 students, so this would make learning more engaging and interesting for them. And then it also will bring a renewed sense of delight to the classroom, because this will increase the learner's notion of skills in grasping the assigned topic. And we have to agree that majority of youngsters nowadays they are digital savvy students, so of course they are expected to use more digital media in their teaching and learning, so it is more engaging to them. So to conclude, we expect that the outcome of this research would confirm and test both of the objectives that we have proposed earlier in this particular research. With that, I thank you.